Okay everyone, welcome back to my healthy cooking channel, and I'm going to make today some apple banana pumpkin bread. I'm going to make the dough today. Tomorrow I'm probably going to make the bread, let it rise a little bit. So I have pumpkin and apple puree here. If you watch my previous video, I cut the pumpkin, all the eyes and the nose and the mouth parts. I boiled up in my new crock pot, straight from the US, about a third of the price if you buy it in Japan. And I boiled up all the pumpkin in my crock pot with about the same amount of apple. So you can see here, let me try to bend the camera down here. This is half apple and half pumpkin. And I used about half of what I took out of the pumpkin, just the eyes and the nose part. Whoops. Okay, camera, go back to normal. Okay, are you there? Okay, so I used just the eyes and the nose part. Half of that I put in here, and half I'm going to save. When I boiled it in the crock pot, I put some cinnamon, some clove, some nutmeg, and some sugar. And I boiled it for a long time, put it on slow cook for, I did it for 2 days actually. I did it for like 8 hours one day and about 5 hours the next day because it wasn't soft after the 8 hours. So then I blended it up in the blender. So I have half of it here for another day. I'm going to save that. And just to add some more sweetness to it, I'm going to put, I have some 2 bananas here that I had in the refrigerator. So they're kind of dark and they're getting kind of old, so nothing better to do with old bananas than to make bread with it. Just add a little bit more sweetness in this. So I'm going to put this in this puree I made with the half pumpkin, half banana, and cinnamon and nutmeg. Okay, put that in there. And the other banana. I use all different kind of fruits for sweetener a lot of times in my bread, if I'm making pumpkin bread or something that I want it to be sweet bread. I do use sugar too. I have, I'm going to put some more sugar. I put natural sugar. This is whole brown, like natural sugar, not the bleached white stuff or the processed sugar. I think this is from Okinawa. No, it's from Hokkaido, I think. Natural sugar, all dark. And I have some more cinnamon here. I'm going to use a little later. I used already nutmeg and everything. Okay, now I'm going to put 2 eggs in this mix here. Okay. Okay. And just blend that up. The eggs, the pumpkin puree, the bananas. It's all going to blend together. Oh, I forgot. I'm going to blend the rice too. I often supplement some of the flour. This is regular flour I just bought today called Super Violet. I don't know what that means, but it's Mama's Kitchen Super Violet. It's from the import store in the mall next to me, and I bought some whole wheat flour. I still have a lot of other kind of flour left that I'm going to use, some rye flour and some corn. What is this? Cornmeal and some corn flour. I like to mix a lot of whole grain flours. I'm going to put some sesame seed, black sesame seed. But I like to substitute a little rice. So if I ever have some leftover rice from the day before, I don't like to eat that much white rice. I always throw that in my bread. Rice works just like flour. So you can, whatever recipe you have with white flour, just throw half of that amount of rice. Because I don't like white plain rice just to eat it by itself. And this rice I used, I didn't eat any of this because this was there was meat on top of it. I used the meat for something else. But this rice I never used. It had a little shoyu on it, which is soy sauce. It'll just add some salty flavor because it's good when you do sweets to have a salty flavor. So I'm just going to put all this rice from the day before yesterday. Okay. Old rice. I don't like eating much white rice, so it's better in my bread. Okay, rice. Okay, rice substitutes for white flour. I'm going to use a little white flour and a little rice. Half and half. If I don't blend the flour, the rice in here, it's kind of grainy and it's going to be it's not going to be too great tasty in my bread. So it's kind of liquefied now. Well, there's a little bit of rice bumps in there. Give it some. Oh, I'm also going to use a lot of nuts if I remember. I always forget. I like to let the dough rise. So actually tomorrow when I do the actual bread, I'm going to add the nuts into the raised dough. Okay, so that's good. I'm done with that. I'm going to put a little more cinnamon because I used a lot of the juice. I poured it out when I boiled the. So a little cinnamon. Cinnamon there. Okay, cinnamon's always good to use. And I used nutmeg yesterday already and clove. I have whole cloves in here. I ground them down. Give it a little spicy flavor. Now, I have some leftover curry in the refrigerator. I don't really like Japanese curry that much, but it's always good to have some salty flavor when you're doing sweet stuff. So the curry is a little salty, but a little sweet in Japan. It just gives a little exotic flavor to it. I like to do some strange stuff. People always like, what's in this bread? It's so interesting. And I don't always tell them. They might get grossed out. I put some curry in there from the day before yesterday. But I'm going to blend this curry in there too. The curry has some vegetables in it. It's all going to be good in my bread. Best thing to do with leftovers is put it in bread. Anything. I use stews, so this is just some leftover curry, Japanese curry. Use the same fork I used the rice. Okay. This blender's not that strong, so it's not going to blend that unless I put some water. So it's a good time for me to put the hot water and the dry yeast. And dry yeast and sugar mixed with hot water. I'm going to turn this hot water on. Turn it up to really hot. You can get boiling water right out of the sink in Japan if you turn it up to boil, but you watch yourself not to burn yourself. So get a little super hot water. It takes a little while to warm up, but not that long. Okay, it doesn't need to be that warm, so I'm not going to get it all the way to boil. If I leave it for a little while, it'll start smoking and boiling. It's already starting to smoke now. Okay, just a little water here. I never measure anything. I always go by the seat of my pants, so a little dry yeast in the hot water. This is leftover package from the other bread I made the other night. Not that much yeast, but that's enough. I don't need that much yeast. I'm going to use some baking powder and baking soda today. But the sweetness in the curry has a lot of sugar. Helps the yeast do their work. But I'm going to put a little more sugar in it right now. Just a little. I already put sugar in the curry before, but it's not sweet enough. I'm going to use all the sugar eventually. Actually, I'm going to do it right now. Put this in the different curry I have here. Fruit curry. All this sugar. I tend to make my stuff not as sweet as most people make it. So this seems like a lot of sugar, but actually it's not that much. And when you use sugar in any of these recipes, it's good to put a little salt, and that's what this rice with the shoyu and curry is going to do. Is going to use as my salt, but I might add a little more salt to it a little later. I'll taste it and see how it is. Okay, so this hot sugar and yeast and hot water. I'm going to put that in there to blend up this curry and add it to that. Give it a little salty flavor. Okay, I don't need that anymore. Okay. Well, that's good. Some curry with sugar. Japanese curry. Give it a little spicy and delicious salty flavor into the sugar, which makes it better. So I don't know what I should call this bread. Banana, apple, curry, pumpkin bread. Anyway, it's all good together. Okay, now that I got this stuff in here, let me mix it up. I'm going to mix it with this. Okay, the sugar is kind of hard. Ball. Okay. That's good. I can't mix this one in this pan, really, because this pan, I can't use metal. So let me use another spoon for that pan. I gave my wooden spoon to someone. I left it at the barbecue I had the other day, so here's a plastic spoon. That'll work. Okay. I'm going to go buy another wooden ladle spoon. Okay, that's mixing fine. Okay, so I'm going to add some flour. I'm going to start with the regular flour. We already have rice in there. So it says using scissors, so I'll use a scissor. Okay. Yes, scissor. Okay. Camera's still on. I have to leave to work in about 45 minutes, so I gotta watch the clock here. Okay, add some flour here. Add some flour here. I never measure anything, so I don't know how much I'm using. I just use more white flour and then I start adding the other type of flour. Less of each of those. Okay. Mix that up. Okay. It's looking good. Regular flour. Okay, it's not mixing good well in here. Okay, that's fine. Okay, now I'm going to add some of the other types of flour. I'm going to add a lot more white flour later on. Okay. You add some whole wheat flour. I gotta watch out, they have some little things in here to keep it from getting wet. Sometimes they drop in my flour. I gotta watch those things. I don't see them in these ones. Sometimes the foreign store doesn't have it. Everything in Japan has these things because so much moisture in Japan. Okay. I don't measure anything, as I said. I just feel what's the right consistency once I'm mixing it. Let's get some white rice flour. No, not rice flour. This is corn flour. Okay, I'm going to use all the corn flour. Some rye flour. Okay. Not that much rye flour because rye flour is kind of hard and I already have a lot of stuff in here that'll be hard. I said before cornmeal, but actually this is not cornmeal. I got grits. So this is grits. It works just like cornmeal. I think they're about the same. I use grits and cornmeal when I make cornbread. Almost the same. I'm not going to use all this cornmeal. I got to watch out for these things that keep it from drying out or getting moist. It's going to fall in there. A little in here, a little in there. Okay, that's good. Okay, the percentage I use of everything, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes I use more or less of some things. This is ground black sesame. Just gives a little more nutrition to it. Okay, ground black sesame. Now I'm going to add a little bit of this baking powder. This baking powder I have from another, this is the baking powder I have here from before. Use this spoon. Where's that spoon? Okay. This is some old white flour I had from before. Okay. I'm going to put some of that other flour back in this one later. Okay, this is little baking powder, yeah. Now I'm going to put some baking soda. Just a little pinch of each. Okay. Let's see. Now I'm going to do baking soda. Someone sent me this from the US. We have it here, it's pretty expensive though. They have it in, it's 2 kanji, I don't know what the kanji are. But they have it near where they make tempura stuff. When I first came to Japan, everyone told me they don't have baking soda, but they do. They just don't call it baking soda. So if you ask for baking soda in the supermarket, no one will know what you're talking about. Okay, that looks good. Start mixing that. Okay. Just get the good consistency where it starts sticking together. And that's when it's working. Okay. Okay, so look at that. That's starting to stick together. That's the right consistency. I mean, it almost breaks my spoon. So I'm going to pour a little of this in here. This is more wet. Let me get the handle to this pot. Where's the handle? Okay. This is a multi-handle used on many of my pots that I don't have handles on. Okay. I'm just using 2 different bowls and pots because I'm making a lot of this and I don't have enough room in one big bowl. Okay, so this one's more runny, so I'm going to add it to that. Okay, not all of it. Let's mix that. Okay. Show. Okay. Yes, like that, really sticky. That means the yeast is working. And obviously this is too wet, so I'm going to need to add some more flour. I'll add the flour to this one that's wetter. More wet or wetter? I forget my English. Okay, a little white flour. that's a lot of white flour. Go over there too. Okay. And a little whole wheat flour. Who knows, I might add a little more rye flour too. Whole wheat flour. Okay. Almost used the whole bag of whole wheat flour. These two flours together were over $10. This was about $7. This was about more than $3. So this is going to be expensive bread here. But I'm going to be able to make a lot. Okay, this is working really well now. With all this flour and all this stuff, I'm going to have to add more sugar than that. Good thing I have more natural sugar. So it's not going to really be sweet at all. So I have this whole bag of natural brown grain sugar from some Japanese brand. I muscle tested for this, so this was good for my body. I'm going to use maybe half of that later on. I'm going to taste it first, see if it's sweet. All this flour, all that sugar I added before, it's not going to be even noticeable. Okay. Okay, this is starting to get really good over here that I can even do it with my hands in a little while. It's getting dry enough, but not yet. Okay, I might throw this in a pan and do a little bit of it before it raises. I might do two different types, like a pie type, that's more wet, and a bread type. So we'll see. Okay. Okay, this is getting really nice. Nice and thick. That means I've used enough flour. Almost enough. Not as much as I'm going to use. I'm going to use a little more. Whoa. It's almost breaking my utensils here. It's so thick. Cheap utensils I bought at the Hyakuin shop, probably. Yeah. Okay. You can tell that the you can see some little bit of carrot from the curry in there. But carrot bread is just as good as pumpkin bread, so that'll be tasty. Okay, that looks good. This one's looking good too. They're both about right consistency. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bake some of this right now. I'm going to taste it to make sure it's the right amount of sugar. There's probably not enough sugar at all. Whoa. Yeah. Okay. It's getting really sticky. That means it's gonna, yeah. It's gonna be really nice. I need a bigger pot for this. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. I can see kernels of rice, so it's going to be nice and interesting. Very interesting bread. Okay, I'm going to taste a little piece on the corner here. I can taste a little sweetness, but usually when I cook it, the sweetness goes out a lot, so I'm going to put a lot more sugar. And I don't taste much of the cinnamon and the spicy stuff, so I'm going to put some more spice. Nutmeg and cinnamon, maybe a little more clove. And I don't really taste any salty flavor, so I'm going to put a little salt. Salt just makes it mix much better, makes the sweetness taste much better. People who don't use salt in their sweet things, it just tastes way too sweet. A lot of Japanese stuff that I've had is just sweet with no saltiness. It's kind of strange. Okay, so I'm using about 1/3 of this sugar. Mix it all in with this. Okay. Whoa. It's hard to maneuver here. It's really heavy. Whoa. Okay. You see that consistency? That's really getting thick. That means it's ready to bake soon. I'll mix it with half of this, and then I'll mix that together. Okay, this is going to break if I keep using this thing. So I'm going to get rid of this thing. Okay, I like to make a big mess in my kitchen. Taste on it. Fell on the stove. Tastes really good. Okay. Actually, I taste cinnamon and clove and everything in that one. So, I think it's going to be just right. About to break this plastic spoon. Okay, that's nice. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to put any more cinnamon or nutmeg. It tastes really good. It needs a little salt, I think. Put that right now. Okay. Wash my hands here. Oh, I have the boiling water still on. Bring that down. Okay, turn off the hot water. Okay. I was just watching the new Karate Kid. New, as in the 80s version was the original. It's not too new. Well, I don't know when it was made, sometime in the last 10 years. That's new to me. And when he goes to China, they say, oh, you got to turn on the water heater and let it heat up first. And they say, oh, in America, we keep it on all the time. And they're like, that's such a waste. And that's how Japanese feel, too. Now that I've lived here for a while, I think it's the same idea. I think it's a waste to keep your water heater on all day. So these water heaters heat up really fast. You just put the electronic plug on, and you get water to heat up. Okay, let's see. Add a little salt to this. What salt am I going to use? I'm going to use this crazy salt. Give a little herbs in it too. Put a little herbs in this crazy salt, so just give it a little bit of interesting flavor. Okay, there's very little of this salt that's in there. It looked like I was doing a lot, but there was very little on the top. With all the sugar I use, it's a very little bit of salt. Okay. a spoon is going to break. I'm going to try this one. Oh, one thing I forgot. I forgot oil. Let's body muscle test. Do I want to use this oil, this oil, this oil? My body says today, use this pure grapeseed oil. So, not that much, but a little oil. I don't measure anything, so I don't know how much that was. It was just a dash of oil. And I'm going to put a little oil in the pan. Same oil. Okay, I don't use butter unless I muscle test at the store. My body wants to buy butter, but I haven't used butter in a long time. Okay, just a little bit of vegetable oil. I have many types. Okay. This is pretty much ready to go into a pot or into a baking sheet. So I'm going to use this one here. And I have this my oven over here. And I'm going to, let's turn over here. This is my nice Japanese oven. They have toaster ovens. This one's a little bit nicer than a normal toaster oven. This one actually has a temperature gauge and everything, which not many Japanese ones do. Okay. Turn it on. I'm going to put it on all the way to toast, which is the highest. It goes up to 230 degrees and it goes up to above that, broil and toast. So I'm going to put it way at the top. And I put it for the max it goes is 30 minutes. I'll probably have to do it 2 or 3 times at 30 minutes to get it fully cooked. The temperature is not right on these things. It's usually a lot lower than that temperature in there. Okay, so back over here while I get this ready. Put a little oil in this pan. Umbro's pure grapeseed oil today. What my body says is good. Okay, just move it around. Spatula here. Just get it all over the bottom and the sides. Helps it bake better and stay off the pan. Okay. That's all oiled. Put that over here. Okay, just to make sure this got mixed well, I'm going to pour it again in here. I'm only going to use about half of this for this thing I'm baking right now. The rest I'm going to let sit till tonight to bake more, which will make it rise a little more. Which will make this one a lot more probably soft. This other one's going to be a little harder, but I like both ways. So I'm going to cover up that pan, if I can find my cover. I'll do that later. My cover is probably in here. Nope. Where is my cover? I think I brought it next door when I brought some things I baked the other day. Yeah, so I'll figure out what to cover it with later. Okay, so this is going to be enough for this pot. Okay. Let's pour it in. Actually, I'm going to use it in here because that got mixed better. Ooh, yeah. That's going to be good. And of course, I forgot the nuts again. I always do that. So, yikes. Okay, this one's not going to have nuts. The next one's going to have nuts because there might be some people that don't like nuts, and then this first one will be no nuts. Okay. The one I do tonight will be nuts. I love nuts. I'll put nuts in everything. And I have a bunch of mixed nuts that I'm going to smash up. Okay, I'm going to put this on the bottom here. And I'm going to put a cookie sheet over the top because these ovens will burn the top of it if you don't. Okay. This is going to rise up a lot, so I'm going to put the cookie sheet. Let's see. I forgot to buy mittens again. I threw the mittens out before. Gotta watch out I don't burn myself here. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this on the very bottom by the coils. And then the coils are protected with a little metal rim there. I'm going to put this thing up on the top rack so it has room to rise. It's going to rise about double the size, hopefully, above that pan. And then put this on top of that. Keep it from burning the top. That should be good. I'm going to let that go 30 minutes, then I'm going to go to work. And then when I come back from work, I'm going to probably test it and probably do another 30 minutes. And that'll be really good pumpkin, banana, apple, and don't tell anyone, Japanese curry and rice bread. You won't even know the curry and the rices are in there. But what else to do with the leftover curry and rice but throw it in your bread? Don't want to waste any of it. In Japanese we call that mottainai when you waste things, so we don't want to waste anything. So stay tuned for when this is done, and you're gonna see the greatest pumpkin bread you ever saw. And the next one is even going to be better because it's going to have all kinds of